I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for 1995's CASPER, which is directed by Brad Silberling and is executive produced by Steven Spielberg. Yeah, and ironically, I'm reviewing the film on the year it has reached its 30th anniversary. Yeah, ironically. The 30 years to this childhood classic. So what is the plot of CASPER? So, Dr. James Harvey, played by Bill Pullman, and his daughter, played by Christina Ricci, one of her earlier roles, Kat, head to an old mansion that is haunted by ghosts. James's job is to get them out of it so they can cross over to the other side. After they move in, Kat meets a ghost named CASPER, who falls in love with her. His one wish is to be human again and maybe he can win her. So, as for my reaction to CASPER, this is a movie that I always remember as pretty much being the film that actually introduced me to this iconic cartoon character and his franchise. And I also would easily have to remember this as easily one of the best cartoon film adaptations of any cartoon series yet. And it's on its 30th anniversary this year. And you know what else is definitely funny? This moment we got from last year.
Nothing scares an echidna warrior.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened last movie night?
Yeah, who knew of all the things that would easily terrify Knuckles, it's this movie. Ironic. So this is my review for CASPER. So how was CASPER made? So executive producer Steven Spielberg actually wanted to do a film adaptation of Casper the Friendly Ghost. He had saw an episode of the television series Brooklyn Bridge, which was directed by Brad Silberling, and saw potential in this work, so he recruited Brad for directing CASPER. Alex Proyas had initially signed on as director, but left because of creative differences with the screenplay. In an interview with Comic Resources, apparently that Alex was intrigued by doing a children's fantasy and wanted to do a more dark film like The Wizard of Oz. And ironically enough, interesting fact, there's an uncredited rewrite of the script that went to J.J. Abrams, who did make good films, but then turned to the dark side when he joined Star Wars. But I don't want to talk about that. The screenplay gave a backstory to Casper being the ghost of Casper McFadden, this boy who died of pneumonia at 12. Though some of the comics, like in the 1960s, had portrayed him as born as a ghost to ghost parents. So when it came to filming the movie, filming had begun on January 27th, 1994, and ended on June 8th, 1994. And although some of it was filmed in Camden, Maine, Whipstaff Manor was largely a studio set. And there was extensive use of computer-generated imagery used to create the ghosts. And ironically enough, this was the very first feature film to have a fully CGI character in a leading role in a live-action film. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is technically an animated live-action film, but the animation for that film was hand-drawn. This was a fully CGI character. And this was the beginning when computer animation was starting to finally make its big appearance. This was the same year that the first fully computer animated film Toy Story released. This was the beginning of computer animation. So this is the first computer animated character to take on the lead role in a live-action film. So, after the film was officially shot and completed, CASPER would be released in cinemas on May 26, 1995 by Universal Pictures. It got mixed reviews from critics, and was successful at the box office. It earned $288 million worldwide on a $55 million budget. And sadly, we were supposed to get a sequel, but it never happened. And I wish it did. You know, this was a film I wish had sequels a lot more than stuff like Alvin and the Chipmunks or the Smurfs or Garfield. I wish this had sequels over any of those shitty films. Or hell, I wish even this had sequels over Inspector fucking Gadget of all movies. Because this is actually a good film, unlike Inspector Gadget. This is like one of the few cartoon film adaptations done right. But it did spawn some really bad prequels. There was Casper's Spirited Beginning, which really gives this movie plot holes, and Casper Meets Wendy as follow-ups to the film. They were released by 20th Century Fox Entertainment, and well, there was an animated television spin-off, The Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper, and some other animated films like Casper's Haunted Christmas, and but sadly no actual sequels to this film. So what are the good qualities in this story of Casper? So, the good quality is what makes Casper one of the few rare great live-action adaptations of a cartoon series as it does a good job clenching the issue of death and either letting it go or hanging on to it as a ghost with unfinished business. And the atmosphere, like, though it is comical, because the cartoons were comical, it's got this deep and emotional air to it, because we look at Dr. Harvey and Cat's loss at wife and mother's death, and Casper's mourning for his life and loneliness as a ghost. The only company he has are his rude uncles, the ghostly trio, who are also great entertaining characters, despite being kind of abusive guardians. Like they're actually also very enjoyable too. But the music, so what he really wants though is a friend. Like the only company he has is those three, and they're often a lot of times gone. The music itself is very beautiful, and the set really gives us perfect background for spooky and sentimental moments. Like, this is definitely for someone who's looking for a good emotional ghost story, and this is a great example of one. Even if it's based on a cartoon, like, and also, if you're looking for some comedic moments in a film, like, you got the three ghost trio, especially whenever they're on screen with Bill Pullman's character, whenever Casper's on screen, like, more of his screen time with the two human characters is kind of him and Cat. There's a few scenes kind of with him and Bill Pullman's character, but the ghosts, most of the time that Bill Pullman's character interacts with are the ghostly trio. For that subplot. Like, those three are there to provide the laughs, and, like, they definitely seem to really have a ball of their time floating like beings capable of shifting themselves into horrific shapes, whether it's to scare off several guests if they get woken up, or just cause mischief to them, and the movie features a heartwarming story and very impressive special effects and timeless themes that make it a really must-watch. I mean, sure, like, at the time when it came out, it was more mixed received by people, but over the years, it's got a fan base, and it's now acknowledged as a popular Halloween classic. Like, it's crazy how I'd forgotten about this when planning out Halloween horror movie reviews, because I kind of regret, like, not putting this for Halloween Horror Review 6. If I had remembered it earlier, I probably would have put this for Halloween Horror Review 6 and maybe had this start off Halloween Horror Review 6, but I randomly forgot about when planning it out, but then I remembered, like, this coming, I should finally review it because this is this film's 30th anniversary. So, it's remarkable how a story like this can be moving and funny at the same time. And, like, many users would suggest, like, it's more of a kid's story. Like, I don't really agree it's just really a kid's story, because this is the kind of story in a kid's film that could appeal to grown-ups as well. Like, who hasn't felt like lonely as Casper did in the beginning of the film, like at one point in their lives? Almost a lot of us have. And yeah, it is somewhat... And yeah, the CGI effects are great, the performances of the lead actors are great. Like, and many 80s kids remember Casper as this very popular cartoon. And it was the first to make live actors and opposite entire, like, computer animated characters right there as well. So, how do we start off the film? So, we first meet the villain of the movie, Kerrigan Crittenden, who is now remembering the death of her father. She's neurotic and spoiled, and she discovers she's only been left the Whipstaff Manor that's located in Maine. while his vast wealth has gone to several charities, and her lawyer, close friend Dibs, that's played by Eric Idle, him and her find this map within the will's papers and tell them of this treasure hidden inside the manor, but they find the property haunted by a friendly ghost named Casper and his uncle's the ghostly trio. And you get several unsuccessful attempts to force the ghosts out of the way by some experts, like one priest and a demolitions team. Oh, I can't forget to mention this. One of the people they get is Ray Stantz from Ghostbusters. They tried getting Ray Stantz to drive him out. Even that, not even Ray Stantz could drive any of them out. Because even he flees and wants nothing to do. It's like, who are you going to call? Someone else. And like, that's just easily one of the funniest cameos of any film yet. And another interesting fact. Apparently the director confirmed that this movie and the Ghostbusters franchise are all connected in the same universe. So it makes this even funnier. That all three of this movie and those two films actually all exist in the same timeline. So it's also kind of ironic how Ray would actually try to go take on a ghost alone. But, you know, I started to wonder if maybe this was around the time, like, when it was kind of when the Ghostbusters were kind of splitting up before the events of Ghostbusters Afterlife had happened. Maybe it was kind of sadly around that time. Maybe that was why Ray Stantz was working alone. Because maybe it was happening around the time they were kind of starting to split apart, despite getting their business back. Because you remember that in because we all remember that in Ghostbusters Afterlife. So, since all three of those attempts don't work, this lonely Casper watches a news report about a paranormal therapist named James Harvey who only has his teenage daughter left, and they're pretty much going to be going to that house, and so Casper was able to inspire Kerrigan to summoning James to Whipstaff. But Cat, on the other hand, is disliking her dad's reputation, obsessing with contacting the ghost of his late wife, and so they move to Whipstaff, and you know that, like, you find out that Cat kind of doesn't really get to have a normal life is because they keep moving one place to another before she can even settle into any school. But he promises this is likely going to be the last move they do, and so they get to arrive. They arrive there and they meet Casper. At first they're terrified when he attempts to befriend them and it fails, but then his ghostly trio arrives. And this is when they come on screen and they're, hey, look, it's Casper. Hey, have fun? Yeah, we had fun. And they kind of got back from this kind of like rodeo thing. They were likely spooking up this whole rodeo. Say, sport, why are you inside doing your chores? Yeah, where's dinner? I'm starving. And another thing, like, Fatso's actually voiced by legendary voice actor Brad Garrett, who's voiced in a lot of Pixar films, as you all remember. Voiced Dim in A Bug's Life, voiced Gusteau in Ratatouille, voiced one of the pufferfish in Finding Nemo. Did a few voice roles in Tangled, and yeah, and I give them that all three of these characters are very entertaining, and they pretty much see that Casper's trying to hide the humans from them, and they launch Casper to the moon, and they get inside. Hey, you smell something? Yeah, besides him. And then they smirk and they realize that, and they see that they see that the Harveys are in their house, and they try to torment and scare them away, but it never works. And so the three kind of realize they have to kind of deal with them in the house at this point. So beyond the stellar main cast, like, you get all the cameos here. You got cameos from Don Novello, John Cassier, Rodney Dangerfield. Oh, heck, you even have a cameo. Even the first scene of the movie, when you first meet the villain, you actually have a cameo of the guy who plays the teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You know, the slow talking, you know, the teacher, Bueller. Yeah, that guy cameos as her lawyer. That guy cameos as a person leaving the house for her. Like, this film is timeless. Like, it really draws people to the world of humans who can't move on from their dear departed, and not to humans that have unfinished business in their lives. Like, the animated design of Casper is very lovable. Right there, like, it's very well designed as well. And he and his uncles who live in the manor, like, their spooky and quirky mansion that's got the cool features. And it casts this setting for this good showdown between friendly and not so friendly ghosts, and a ghost therapist out to get rid of them. And the interactions between the humans and ghosts are funny and touching. Like, the scenes when Casper and Cat become friends, like whenever he helps her settle into her new home, and then once she learns of his past, helps him remember his life when he was alive. and finding the contraption that Casper's apart scientist father really created to resurrect his son and try to make it work. So, the next day, Casper finally does gain the Harvey's trust when he serves them breakfast, and then the ghostly trio arrive and they demand their breakfast from Casper. Well, they try to fake pretend to melt. At first, Harvey thinks that they crossed over, but then they have their sunglasses on. It shows that that didn't work and they can't really cross over. Then they make Casper serve them and berate him for trying to clean the floor. Hey, this floor was dirty enough to eat off of. Whoa, we have company over. Oh, really? Then Kat goes to school, and immediately at first it doesn't look like she fits in, but then when her class learns she's living in Whipstaff, she becomes popular, and they agrees to have their Halloween party there. But this one jealous classmate plots with this one friend to Millie Cat during the party. James, on the other hand, is trying to attempt a therapy session with the ghostly trio, and it turns out they know Amelia, and when Fatso sees the picture of Amelia, he's like, you animal. Stretch actually berates Fatso for that moment, so even these three have their limits. These three may seem kind of rude, but they clearly do have their limits on on married people, and they're not gonna go that extreme. And even Mad Fatso for kind of reminding James of kind of his dead wife, and so they decide that they'll promise to get James a meeting with his wife in order to convince Kerrigan to leave them alone. So, meanwhile then, Kat then learns Casper has no memory of his life once he basically takes her out. And so, Kat the next day restores his old playroom in the attic to remind him of his past. And Casper recognizes an old wooden sled his father bought him, and was playing outside until he caught severe cold and then died of pneumonia. And he became a ghost to keep his father company. And then a newspaper article revealed that Casper's father got declared insane after building a machine called the Lazarus, which he claimed could bring the dead back to life. Then Casper and Kat then venture to the basement and they find the Lazarus. Although Kerrigan and Dibbs, who are still not done trying to take the house, they sneak in, they steal the formula that powers the machine, and use it to grant themselves immortality, and then attempt to kill each other to test a theory to retrieve a treasure that they think could be in the basement's locked vault. And so Kerrigan tries to run Dibbs over with her car, but then crashes into a cliffside tree. And then when exits her car, she falls to her death and becomes a ghost. Yeah, then she becomes revealed in this ghost form. And so, the FX really do look amazing even today, and by the big old mansion, it's beautiful to look at, and the detailed production design is very outstanding. When you have the character Casper, he's funny and feel good, and actually very lovable character there. And what also really, and the look of the supernatural comedy is actually very beautiful, with the lighting and Whipstaff Manor and the stunning nighttime scenes outside of the full moon, the gorgeous look of the whole Friendship Town, and it all looks very fantastic. And another thing too, Bill Pullman's also, who has been in films like Independence Day, is also great here as a troubled Dr. Harvey, who is also a great family man, especially with his great performance, and it kind of has this nice father-daughter relationship with Kat. It starts off strained over the film, they do reconnect nicely and bond once again. And of course, his scenes with the ghostly trio are also great. Right there, they're also one of the more comedic highlights of the film. The emotional kind of core of the film is kind of when the scenes with Kat and Casper. But they're the subplot with James and the ghostly trio is kind of the comedy part of the film, and I like the four, and the four also have great chemistry with one another. And at first, it seems like the three are kind of likely intending to murder him, but after the bar scene, they kind of feel kind of bad for their attempted rude actions, and they decide that they don't really want to go through with it. Right there, so you actually see a good side in the trio as the film progresses, and of course, the fact that Steven Spielberg is a producer on the film and actually has his input and presence is what's really left a nostalgic sense of wonder. And Spielberg was right to produce this project. And it definitely, even though he's not the director of the film, this movie still feels very Spielberg-like. And it does get really silly, and it wouldn't make sense logically or scientifically, but it's still very faithful to the source material, and I'm glad this film is produced by somebody that's actually familiar with the source material, unlike a lot of films today. So once we get back to the subplot with James and the trio, James is kind of depressed after the trio pulls a prank on him and promises him to take him out of the town, and they kind of want to kill him to make themselves like a fourth one and kind of add him to their team because they kind of have a bit of a friendship with him, but then the drunken therapist decides he's going to tell Kerrigan off so they can stay in their home, and then they realize they feel bad for their actions, but when James stumbles out, he accidentally falls to his death, and the Ghostler trio have a bit of look of horror on their faces when they kind of see him walking to the construction area. Then we get to the Cat and Casper plot again. Once they're in the laboratory before Cat is about to revive Casper back to his human self, Kerrigan then arrives and she has stole what she believes to be the treasure from the vault. And of course, Dibbs has had enough of her abuse and tries to double cross her, but she launches him out of a window. Kerrigan wants to be brought back to life, but Casper and Cat remind her that Casper's treasure was unfinished business, and since she got that completed unfinished business, and so she got ejected into the afterlife. And now officially, she tries protesting that she doesn't have any unfinished business left, but she's dead anyway. And it turns out the treasure was not money. It's actually Casper Prize baseball. And this other map that's part of a game Casper played with his father. And so, then it's time to revive Casper to his human self again, but before that can happen, James shows up now ghost and still in his drunken state, returns with the ghostly trio. Cat's able to bring him back to his senses, and Cat's despaired over her dead dad, but Casper then, pretty much in that moment, decides to decline turning himself back to human, so he sacrifices that one chance and allows James to be restored to his normal self instead, and that also makes Casper another great character. Right here he sees Cas despaired over dead father, so he gives up his chance of being human again so that James can be back to being human again in that moment. And director Bad Silder Ling really does a great job directing the FX fantasy parts and the more dramatic parts and create a lovely family film with lots of heart and feel of adventure. And yeah, it's kind of a shame he hasn't really done a lot of films since then. And whenever you have the two subplots that work very well, the plot with Cat and Casper, the subplot with James and the Ghostly Trio, right there, one part's kind of more emotional heart dynamic, one part is a little more comedy bits, and even the ending too. What could have been a very sappy ending is done with magic. You have Devin Sawyer, who was 17 at the time, in one of the first roles, this is a guy who would later go on to play in Final Destination. When he walks down the stairs, extend his hat to Cat with love and tenderness, and that's another thing. I wish this got a sequel. I wish this could have had a few sequels. And sure, the film's not really a brilliant masterpiece film, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be an award winner. It really gives it's not really trying to give us a dramatic life performance, but it's simply a harmless family film. It's aimed at just about anybody. It also knows how to please adults, and it remains fresh and current today. So, now we get on with the finale. So, while this is all happening, Halloween party was kicking off upstairs, and Ghostly Trio were able to thwart Amber and Vic's prank, and they flee in terror. Then, of course, while this was happening, Amelia, honored by Casper's sacrifice, temporarily allows him to have his human form again. You find out Amelia had become an angel after her death, and so she restores Casper to human self till 10 p.m., and he goes down the stairs and dances with Cat. Then Amelia meets with James, and explains that the ghostly trio had kept their promise to get him a meeting with her, and tells them that she was so content with her family while alive that she had no unfinished business and didn't become a ghost. Right there, and of course, even one point tells them, remember, fast fries are not breakfast food, and no, French fries are not breakfast food. And then Amelia departs as the clock chimes 10, and she even promises James in a very emotional bit right here that they and Cat are going to be together again one day. And after kissing Cat, then Casper transforms back to a ghost, and when the guests see this, guests are boo. And then, of course, this scares all the guests away, but Cat's actually impressed with the success of the Halloween party, and of course, then the movie ends with the two humans and Casper like dancing to their nephew's theme being played by the ghostly trio, and then Casper performs towards the end. But that is officially the end of Casper, and it's a very heartwarming ending turned to a very funny one. Right there, and of course, like it was definitely nice to see a brief cameo for Devin Soya, aka Alex from Final Destination 17 at the time, which was Casper's human form, and of course, now knowing that Amelia was an angel in death, and kind of see James and Kat now at peace with her death. It had a nice little message of kind of like letting go of the death of a loved one. Now, do I have any bad qualities with the film? I would say, like, if there's one line that's kind of a little weird, it's when Kat and Casper return home and Kat goes to sleep, and Casper whispers one part, "Can I keep you?" And that line, I think that line was a little weird. I think that line could have been taken out a little bit. And Kerrigan and Dibbs, they're not really memorable villains per se. They're kind of really just there to give the story an antagonist. They're not really that memorable. And the idea of a love story between an actual cartoon ghost and a human would be kind of a little weird and unrealistic, but if you get past that, it's not really that big of a deal. Despite that one weird line I don't think should have been in there. The pace can be a little uneven, like it starts off with the grabber, then kind of slows down to a crawl halfway, get to some momentum. There are some scenes that come and go without any meaning. And heck, there's even some other supporting characters. Like, you didn't really need the jealous two friends. Like, you didn't really need the jealous classmate. You didn't really need the rival crush. You really didn't need those two characters because they contributed nothing to the plot. Right there, they weren't really that important to the story. You just didn't really need them. Other than those, this film was a Halloween family classic. Yeah, I kind of wish I did review this on Halloween Horror, but oh well, it is what it is. So in the end, I would totally watch it by Casper for your Halloween collection for sure, no doubt, because it's a perfect family-friendly horror for the kiddos. Anyways, that's it for my review of Casper, and when I'm going to Casper, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love the cartoon and want to see a live-action animated film based off a cartoon series actually done well, then I would totally watch it by Casper for your collection for sure, no doubt. And if I'm going to Casper, I'm going to give Casper a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up my review for Casper. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think about Casper. And until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.